Chapter 200. Yumanran took a deep breath and looked at him with a fake smile. I haven't asked for money from my family for several years. Oh, you've been in the dark for so long. Yu Hanran raised his eyebrows. Fortunately, you were strong-willed back then and didn't choose to expose your identity. Otherwise, our Yu family wouldn't be able to afford to lose this face. I can't be bothered with you. I'll stay for 20 minutes today. Yumanran was so angry that he didn't want to talk to him. He rolled his eyes and said arrogantly. She didn't want to make friends with those arrogant people in the industry. Each of them was more annoying than the other. If I find out that you're gone when we leave the banquet today, don't blame me for buying over that lousy company of yours. Yu Hanran also laughed angrily, not wanting to continue talking to this annoying sister. He glanced at Yumanran with disdain and suddenly thought of the little girl beside Huashidu. The way she called him older brother softened his heart. It was no wonder that Master Du liked little vixens so much. Who wouldn't like them? Yu Hanran, how dare you? It's good to change it to a square park, Yu Hanran said faintly. Yumanran was speechless. Brother, I was wrong. Seeing Yumanran admit defeat, Yu Hanran snorted and deliberately messed up her hair before he stopped and left. This B** starred. Yumanran gritted his teeth and entered the banquet in his high heels as if he was here to seek revenge. On the marble ground of the garden, there was a grand piano. Qin Youjiao was carried to the piano cushion by Cheng Zihuai in public, causing many young ladies who were familiar with Qin Youjiao to be envious. I'll listen to you play from the side. Cheng Zihuai smiled and said gently. Qin Youjiao nodded with a red face. It was only after Cheng Zihuai left that Ling Jiwei bent down and whispered into Qin Youjiao's ear, Miss Yu is already here. I heard that she's very interested in piano. Jiao Jiao, we'll have to rely on you. Hearing this, a smile appeared on Qin Youjiao's face. She only played the piano keys casually and nodded. Don't worry. She would seize this opportunity to make the young lady of the Yu family interested in her. So, the sound of the piano gradually rang out. It was an unfamiliar tune that he had never heard before, and it was especially eye-catching. Everyone turned to look at the girl in a white dress who was playing the piano. Her appearance was elegant and refined, leaving a deep impression in one's mind. In the next moment, even Yumanran, who had just arrived at the banquet, was stunned when he heard the skillful and pleasant sound of the piano. She was attracted to the sound of the piano and saw the person playing it clearly. Qin Youjiao was indeed worthy of the title of a young pianist and was indeed a talented young girl. However, at this moment, the first person that Yumanran thought of was Bei Yunj. At the same age, Bei Yunj's creative ability was already astounding. There were even well-known musicians in the country who took the initiative to contact the composer after hearing her new song. All of this proved that Bei Yunj's terrifying strength had yet to be fully displayed. This person was still a mystery. Yumanran stared at Qin Youjiao, his thoughts already starting to blank out. She was faintly looking forward to the scene of that person personally playing the piano. How shocking would that be? Before the piano music ended, the person who had just entered had already quietly sat on the swing in the corner. She leaned against it lazily, her expression languid and arrogant. Her black hair, fair skin, and red dress made her look extremely beautiful. Chapter 201. Bei Yunj glanced at Qin Youjiao, who could be vaguely seen in the distance. She then leaned one hand on the handle of the swing and supported her head. She looked free and unrestrained. Even after the piano piece ended, many people's eyes were still unable to move away from Qin Youjiao. Their expressions were either stunned or envious. Miss Yu? Ling Jiwei shouted. When she saw Yumanran's face clearly, she was stunned. The young lady of the Yu family was that Yumanran from the entertainment industry. Why didn't anyone expose this matter? Who are you? Yumanran looked at the uninvited person and frowned slightly with displeasure and coldness. Ling Jiwei was slightly uneasy and nervous. I heard from a friend that Miss Yu likes music. I didn't expect Miss Yu to be an artiste. Hearing this familiar conversation, Yumanran was not interested. She crossed her arms and looked at Qin Youjiao not far away. That young lady is not bad. Hearing Yu Manran praise Qin Yojiao like this, Ling Jiwei's eyes flashed and she was full of smiles. Yes, her name is Qin Yojiao and she's the eldest young lady of the Qin family. She even had a piano concert tour before and wrote all the pieces herself. With that said, Qin Yojiao had already been pushed over in a wheelchair by Cheng Zihuai. Wei Wei. Qin Yojiao called out to Ling Jiwei before her eyes landed on Yu Manran. Is it Miss Yu? You played well. Yu Manran looked at her. Hearing this, Qin Yojiao tried her best to suppress the smile on her lips and said with a smile, "This is my new piece for this year's piano tour. If Miss Yu is free, you can come and listen to it." Because of Qin Yojiao's piano skills, Yu Manran was indeed not as uninterested as when he first came to the banquet. Qin Yojiao had also pulled herself into a relationship with Yu Manran intentionally or unintentionally. At this moment, Ling Jiwei suddenly spoke, her tone gloating. "Jiao Jiao, that person isn't here yet. Could it be that she's afraid?" Qin Yojiao laughed. "Why are you mentioning her all of a sudden?" Then, Qin Yojiao said casually, "She hasn't been back to the Qin family for long, so it's normal that she doesn't know anything." Yu Manran had been in the entertainment industry for many years. How could he not hear the superiority in Qin Yojiao's words? She smirked and her interest in Qin Yojiao immediately disappeared. "Even if she's talented, she can't compare to you, Jiao Jiao." Ling Jiwei deliberately smiled and said, "Other than Miss Yu, no one else can compare to an outstanding person like Jiao Jiao." "Are you talking about the new miss from Jiao Jiao's family?" A few socialites who knew Qin Yojiao came over and giggled. One of them deliberately asked, "Jiao Jiao, how long has it been since she returned to the Qin family? Why didn't you change your surname back?" Hearing this, Ling Jiwei couldn't help but sneer. "Jiao Jiao is so young, but she won the first prize in the piano competition. She's the youngest winner in history. In terms of talent, who could compare to Jiao Jiao? If someone like her has the same surname as Jiao Jiao, it would be too much of a stretch." Hearing this, Qin Yojiao furrowed her eyebrows as well. She did not want to keep mentioning Bei Yunj in such an occasion. Not everyone could be compared to her. But then, before Qin Yojiao could interrupt, Yu Manran suddenly lifted his skirt and walked towards the grand piano. This scene confused the socialites who had just treated Bei Yunj as a joke. "Miss Yu, what are you doing?" Ling Jiwei was confused. As for Qin Yojiao, her smile froze when Yu Manran sat in front of the piano. Chapter 202. Yu Manran played a few keys simply. Not long after, a piano sound that was different from before attracted everyone's attention. On the other hand, Bei Yunj, who was leaning against the swing, looked up and said, "Follow me." At this moment, everyone present was fascinated, but Qin Yojiao's expression did not look too good. From the beginning of this piano piece, it had already tickled people's hearts. The main melody of the piano was clearly vicissitudes of life and had a grand style, but the secondary melody was healing and joyful and romantic. The seemingly contradictory rhythm was compatible, but it sublimated the mood of the piano piece. This kind of score often required very difficult skills to play. And the composer was even more open-minded. His control of the tune and rhythm was like a stroke of genius. After the performance, Qin Yojiao felt like she had been slapped in public. Her expression was ugly, but it was full of smiles. "Miss Yu played very well. Which famous composer did this score come from?" Qin Yojiao could tell that Yu Manran did not know enough about music scores. But this score itself was very difficult to play. It was probably a famous pianist the Yu family had invited. Otherwise, they would not have done this. Not only Qin Yojiao, even the others wanted to know who the person who could make such a score was. Originally, when they heard Qin Yojiao's piano piece, they thought that it was already rare. However, they did not expect that the moment Yu Manran played the score, the former became a bland soup. A famous composer? Yu Manran chuckled and glanced at the socialites who had stepped on the high and flattered the low just now. "This was written by a girl about your age. I only played a simplified version." With that said, everyone present was shocked. "About the same age as Miss Qin? Is she a god?" I've learned piano for so many years and only now do I realize that I'm here to make up the numbers. I thought that Qin Yojiao was already very good at this age. Why is there a big boss now? I don't know music, but it's really nice. The discussions around them started to question Qin Yojiao's talent, making Qin Yojiao feel like she had fallen into a quagmire for the first time. She took a deep breath and tried to sound as calm as possible. May I know who she is? There's no need for that. After Yu Manran finished speaking, he smiled mysteriously. Miss Qin, you are also very powerful, but you have to admit that there is always someone better than you. She could only play the simplified version of the music score in an orderly manner. But if that person were to personally play the original version, it would definitely be a shocking scene. All of a sudden, Yu Manran really wanted to encourage Bei Yunj to go to his concert and play the original song. That scene would definitely explode. However, when Qin Yojiao heard this, she could not smile at all. How could she not tell that Yu Manran had a bad impression of her now? Miss Yu, I understand if you don't like me. Qin Yojiao clenched her fists and said with a generous smile, but I'm afraid it's a little hard to believe that such a song was written by someone my age. The meaning of these words was obvious. She was questioning the truth of Yu Manran's words. Miss Qin, do you think that if you can't write it, others can't write it either? Chapter 203. With that said, the entire venue fell silent. Although there were many socialites who played the piano well, no one dared to say that they could play 1/3 of the piano piece just now. This score was too difficult to control. At this moment, Qin Yojiao smiled as well. Miss Yu, I didn't say this on purpose, but there are some things that sound ridiculous. At this moment, many people agreed with Qin Yojiao's words. Such a piece did not seem like it could be written by a person in her teens or 20s. If that was the case, then she was too talented. Yu Manran looked at this hypocritical face and gritted his teeth in anger when he heard this. Then she laughed coldly and looked around, wanting to find Yu Hanran. No one knew that Yu Hanran had a strong memory for music. Usually, after listening to a piece once, he could play it perfectly. But at this critical moment, Yu Hanran actually King disappeared for her. Yu Manran's expression darkened. At this moment, Yu Hanran had unknowingly walked to Bei Yunj's side. He was interested. Miss Pei, can't you tell that that silly girl is speaking up for you? He was not standing far away just now and had heard the discussion of the group of girls. Yu Manran was still the same as before. He even defended people he didn't know. President Yu, you don't even care about your sister? Bei Yunj raised her eyebrows, a faint smile in her eyes. Hearing this, Yu Hanran did not expect this little girl to guess his relationship with Yu Manran. That score is quite difficult. Yu Hanran's tone was teasing. Why don't you call and ask Master Du to support you? He's very good at the piano and violin. He also wanted to see how important this little girl was to Master Du. Really? I'll listen to it in the future. Bei Yunj's eyes were presumptuous and flamboyant, but she was bright and charming, making people dazed. Hearing this, Yu Hanran only understood after a while. This little girl only liked to eat alone and did not want others to hear Hua Shidu play the piano. Yu Hanran was speechless. This little girl's possessiveness was quite scary. However, before Yu Manran could continue speaking, Bei Yunj slowly stood up when he caught a glimpse of Yu Manran's face turning red. She casually straightened her skirt and walked into the crowd. However, Bei Yunj's reaction also surprised Yu Hanran. What was Bei Yunj doing? Could it be that she could play the piano? After obtaining this understanding, Yu Hanran still didn't dare to be sure. It was not that he had not checked Bei Yunj. In Hengda High School, Bei Yunj was the epitome of an ignorant and incompetent troublemaker. How was this the obedient girl who would be influenced by art after class? Miss Yu, do you know anyone at the banquet? Qin Yi asked with a coy smile. Cheng Zihuai, who was standing behind Qin Yojiao, also looked at Yu Manran coldly, thinking that he was deliberately finding trouble with Qin Yojiao. Even if Yu Manran's gaze was cold. Just as he was about to say something, he suddenly heard a familiar voice. Yu Manran. The moment he finished speaking, Yu Manrin's eyes lit up when he saw Bei Yunj. She never thought that she would meet Bei Yunj here. However, after that she felt inexplicably guilty. Could it be that Ge had seen her playing her song and fighting with someone? Ge. Yu Manrin's tone was weak. Chapter 204. At the same time, everyone subconsciously followed Yu Manrin's line of sight. In an instant, a trace of amazement flashed across their eyes. The girl who walked over had black hair and fair skin. She was wearing a long red dress with a V-neck and thin straps. Her waist was tied up, outlining an extremely high-class sexiness. She had a pair of soul-stirring eyes. The smile in her eyes did not reach her eyes, but she was languid and charming. Which family's young lady's appearance was real? At this moment, a trace of strong jealousy flashed past Qin Youjiao's eyes and her eyes darkened. These two people actually knew each other? So, Qin Youjiao said with a smile, "Is she the only friend Miss Yu knows on the show?" Yu Manran could not help but look at Qin Youjiao, his eyes dark. Where did this elder young miss get her sense of superiority from? Didn't she know that she had already shown off in front of the big boss? Yes, she's the only friend I know on the show. Yu Manran chuckled and said indifferently. Hearing this, Qin Youjiao gritted her teeth and clenched her fists unconsciously. She had just said so much to Yu Manran, planning to make Yu Manran one of her own. But now, she found out that Yu Manran was actually willing to be friends with someone like Bei Yunj? This woman was really crazy. Not only Qin Youjiao, but Ling Jiwei and the rest beside her also had ugly expressions. Ling Jiwei gave a fake smile. Miss Yu, were you deceived by Bei Yunj? What's so good about her that you want to be friends with such a person? Hearing this, Yu Manrin's eyes turned cold. This gaze made Ling Jiwei inexplicably afraid and she avoided his gaze. A person who's worth it is worth it everywhere. Yu Manran raised an eyebrow and chuckled, but the coldness in his eyes did not disappear. Hearing this, Ling Jiwei's expression was ugly, but she did not dare to offend the Yu family. Suddenly, Qin Youjiao spoke. Since that's the case, it looks like you can definitely help Miss Yu prove what she said just now, right? Bei Yunj's lips curved upwards as her gaze landed on Qin Youjiao. Qin Youjiao, leave some leeway for yourself. Hearing this, Qin Youjiao thought that Bei Yunj was threatening her and could not help laughing. Yunj, if you don't know how, then forget it. I don't think Miss Yu will blame you. Qin Youjiao's intention to drive a wedge between Bei Yunj and Yu Manran was obvious. Bei Yunj turned her head and looked at the pitiful Yu Manran. The corners of her eyes twitched slightly. Suddenly, Bei Yunj. Cheng Zihuai had an impatient expression as he warned coldly, "Don't embarrass the Qin clan." Cheng Zihuai, there are so many people here. Can't you say something human? Bei Yunj glanced at him lazily and said unhurriedly. Cheng Zihuai's handsome face darkened. Did this woman really think that it was so easy to enter the Hua family? She was actually so arrogant. Bei Yunj ignored him and walked towards the grand piano. She lifted the hem of her silk dress slowly and sat by the piano. 1/3, right? Bei Yunj's red lips curved and her slender legs were crossed under her dress. They were so fair that they were dazzling. Just sitting in front of the piano was a type of charm. Yes. If I can prove it for her, will you apologize to her too? Bei Yunj asked. Of course, but if you can't prove it for her, then apologize to me on behalf of Miss Yu. Qin Youjiao did not hesitate. Even she could not do this condition. Sure. Bei Yunj snorted and her slender fingers slid across the black and white keys. Chapter 205. Does she know what kind of honor Jiao Jiao has received since she was young? Ling Jiwei could not help laughing mockingly. Hearing this, Yu Manran snorted coldly and stared fixedly at Bei Yunj. She had never heard Bei Yunj play the piano, but how could someone who could write such a score play badly? At this thought, Yu Manran's eyes became more and more expectant. After that, under everyone's watchful gazes, Bei Yunj's slender fingers danced. However, from the moment the first key fell, Qin Youjiao's lips twitched and the sarcasm in her eyes was not hidden. She thought that this Bei Yunj had some confidence. However, she did not expect her to play the first key wrong. She had really overestimated her. Miss Yu, the song Yunj played seems to be very different from the one you played just now. Qin Yojiao was very confident in her professional field. Yu Manran furrowed his eyebrows, not quite understanding what was going on with Bei Yunj's song. However, she did not think that Bei Yunj had played it wrong. Did she play it wrong? The style is too different. The people around started to discuss. Yeah, I can't tell what's the same between these two songs. Didn't we agree to repeat the score just now? It's nice, but this is completely different from Miss Yu's song just now. At this moment, Ling Jiwei, who was beside her, also had a mocking expression. She could not help laughing and saying, I really thought that she could play a few notes. I didn't expect her to dare to show off when she doesn't know anything. It sounds nice too. The socialite beside Ling Jiwei said softly. So what if it's nice? Ling Jiwei immediately turned to look at her and laughed coldly. She didn't write this song. I wonder how long she practiced to reach this level. Hearing this, the socialite beside her was speechless. But she had a feeling that this song was a little familiar at this moment. Yu Hanran stood not far away as he watched Bei Yunj play the piano. A hint of surprise and amazement flashed across his eyes. He thought that Bei Yunj really didn't know anything. He had hidden it too well. This time, Master Du has really picked up a treasure. Yu Hanran chuckled. So, the sound of the guqin gradually stopped. Bei Yunj glanced at Qin Yojiao, his lazy voice slightly playful. Miss Qin, isn't it time for you to fulfill your promise? Hearing this, Qin Yojiao found it ridiculous. Bei Yunj had the courage to ask her to apologize even though she didn't make a single sound right. Bei Yunj, we're not deaf. Do you think you've hit the right note? Qin Yojiao's eyes were filled with sarcasm. Even Qing Zihuai, who was behind her, looked at Bei Yunj with disdain. Yes. Bei Yunj, don't go back on your word. You should be the one apologizing to Jiao Jiao. Ling Jiwei immediately chimed in. She felt as if she had vented her anger. Suddenly, a voice sounded not far away. She didn't play it wrong. Hearing this, everyone looked at Yu Hanran instinctively, not understanding why he would say this. She used the secondary melody of the music score to adapt it. The first and last parts were played in reverse. The moment Yu Hanran said this, the smile on Qin Yojiao's face froze. The rest of the people were even more stunned. Played in reverse? So, not only did this girl play it correctly, she even changed the tune on the spot? Impossible. Ling Jiwei's voice was sharp and ear-piercing. Chapter 206. How is this possible? Even Jiao Jiao said that this score would be very difficult to learn. How could Bei Yunj be able to play it after listening to it once? Not only Ling Jiwei, even Qin Yojiao's expression was exceptionally ugly. She stared at Bei Yunj with dark eyes. Impossible. Back then, when Bei Yunj had just returned to the Qin family, she had deliberately tested Bei Yunj's ability. Not to mention the piano, she was clearly someone who couldn't even understand music. Miss Pei played the entire song. She repeated exactly 1/3 of Man Man's song. Yu Hanran smirked lightly, but he was even more confused about Bei Yunj. He could barely remember the score just now, but if he wanted to play it as easily as Bei Yunj, he would need at least a week to practice. In the end, this person even changed it on the spot. At this moment, Yu Manran immediately understood. Or changed it on the spot. Did she think that it was unfair to repeat the score she wrote? At this thought, Yu Manran looked at Bei Yunj with a complicated gaze. However, with Ger changing it like this, it seemed to be a slap to Qin Yojiao and the rest's faces, although, looking at their expressions now, it was really satisfying. Impossible. You must have learned this score secretly long ago. You did it on purpose. Ling Jiwei lost her composure and said sharply, before she pointed at Bei Yunj and Yu Manran. You're friends. You must know Yu Manran's score too. Yu Manran was speechless. How could he not know? She was the one who King wrote this score. Bei Yunj laughed carelessly. There was no guilt in her eyes, but they were bright and charming. Hearing this, a glint flashed past Qin Yojiao's eyes. However, in the next moment, before Qin Yojiao and the rest could heave a sigh of relief and were about to ridicule Bei Yunj, Bei Yunj suddenly played the piano again. Within half a minute, Qin Yojiao's face gradually turned pale and she felt cold all over. *CK, isn't this Qin Yojiao's song just now? You can repeat this after just one play? Amazing! Is this the new young lady of the Qin family? How ruthless! Of course. Do you know who raised her? Principal Lin Longjun. Wait, who are you talking about? Lin Longjun. That Dean Lin of Yunqing University? Damn, didn't we agree to go to the orphanage? Yes, the orphanage opened by Director Lin. She was truly the heaven's chosen one. To think that he would encounter Dean Lin Longjun after being left behind. Who could be as lucky as him? I don't think I have the chance to listen to Miss Qin's music score, right? Pei Yunj repeated the score that Qin Yojiao had played just now without missing a single detail. This scene caused goosebumps to rise all over their bodies. Even Qin Yojiao might not be able to do such a thing. In an instant, Qin Yojiao's back was filled with coldness as she stared at Bei Yunj with dark eyes. Only Mrs. Qin and Qing Zihuai knew about this score. It was impossible for Bei Yunj to know about it. So, Bei Yunj didn't know how to play the piano at all. She had been pretending all this time? Bei Yunj, were you lying to me before? Qin Yojiao stared at Bei Yunj darkly. I thought that Miss Qin wanted me to play it so strongly because you knew that I knew how to play it. Bei Yunj said lazily. Chapter 207. If she did not go along with Bei Yunj's words at this time, everyone would think that she was deliberately making things difficult for Bei Yunj. Qin Yojiao gritted her teeth secretly. After a long time, she took a deep breath and forced a smile. I didn't expect you to be so good at the piano, Yunj. Hearing the discussions of the people around Qin Yojiao and Bei Yunj, Ling Jiwei could not help but speak up for Qin Yojiao. It's not difficult to arrange the music. That score is good to begin with. It won't be bad no matter how you change it. She's just being opportunistic. Then why don't you try being opportunistic? Yuman Ran, who was beside her, said slowly. Hearing this, Ling Jiwei wanted to say something but stopped herself, her face flushing red. She bit her lip, not daring to really anger Yuman Ran. Okay, this matter ends here. Cheng Zihuai glanced at Bei Yunj with slightly dark eyes. Indeed, he did not expect Bei Yunj to know how to play the piano and she was not worse than Jiao Jiao. His tone slowed down. Jiao Jiao didn't mean to make things difficult for you. There's no need to embarrass anyone in public. His meaning was obvious. Cheng Zihuai planned to protect Qin Yojiao and not let her apologize. Hearing this, a smug smile appeared on Qin Yojiao's lips as she glanced at Bei Yunj provocatively. So what if she won? Zihuai was still on her side. Yunj, don't misunderstand Zihuai. Don't be unhappy because of this, Qin Yojiao bit her lip and said. Hearing this, Yuman Ran was in disbelief. How could there be such a high-level green tea? Then, Yuman Ran laughed coldly, putting on the airs of a spoiled young lady with ease. I don't know if Gu is happy or not, but I'm not happy. Miss Qin, don't forget. The person you promised to apologize to just now was me. Hearing this, Qin Yojiao's expression froze. Bei Yunj, what do you think of this? Cheng Zihuai suddenly asked. He had been staring at Bei Yunj. This was the first time he had lowered himself to talk to her. If it was in the past, Bei Yunj would have been so happy that she would not care about anything else. I think it's better for you to shut up first. Bei Yunj spoke slowly and Cheng Zihuai's face turned ashen when he heard this. Bei Yunj did not even look at Cheng Zihuai as he said unhurriedly, President your sister is being bullied. Aren't you going to do anything about it? Yuhan Ran, who was about to watch the show, this girl was really too vicious. She treated others as tools and used them so skillfully. Yuhan Ran had no choice but to step forward and walk to Yuman Ran's side. He glanced at Yuman Ran. Before Yuman Ran could feel touched, he sneered. Yuhan Ran was still flirtatious. He raised his glass of red wine to Cheng Zihuai and looked a little negligent. He raised his eyebrows and said, "A child of the Qing family?" Cheng Zihuai moved his lips but did not speak. This person's aura was a bit similar to the person from the Hua family. Although it was not that oppressive, it still made him feel a little uncomfortable. Yu Hanran's smile did not reach his eyes. Although I don't like to use my status to suppress people, Man is my family's only elder young miss after all. If the Qing family finds out that you slapped the Yu family's face in public for a little sister, will they be able to sleep? Yu Hanran gave people the feeling that he was a smiling tiger. But he could pounce over and bite someone's throat at any moment. In this venue, only Pei Yunj dared to use Yu Hanran as a tool. At this moment, Cheng Zihuai's face turned red, as if he had been mocked in public. Chapter 208. Seeing this, Qin Youjiao could not help gritting her teeth and glancing at Bei Yunj gloomily. How could she not know that the Yu family was more powerful than the Qing family? After all, that was an aristocratic family that could even talk to the Hua family. She looked at Cheng Zihuai's handsome face and knew that Cheng Zihuai could not help her anymore. Qin Youjiao gritted her teeth and could only hold it in. I spoke inappropriately about this matter and made Miss Yu unhappy. I'll apologize to Miss Yu here. She looked at Yu Manran. After mentally preparing herself, she took a deep breath. I'm sorry, Miss Yu. I shouldn't have doubted you in public. The different gazes around made Qin Youjiao feel that she had embarrassed herself today. Seeing Qin Youjiao apologize, Cheng Zihuai felt like he had been humiliated in public and looked at Bei Yunj with dark eyes. He could not touch the Yu family. However, Pei Yunj was the one who started all of this. Cheng Zihuai clenched his fists. As long as he entered the A.M. Computing Institute and developed the Chung Corporation's information technology industry into the top industry in the country, he would make Bei Yunj regret going against him now sooner or later. At this thought, Cheng Zihuai's expression softened and he pushed Qin Youjiao away. Yu Hanran walked in front of Bei Yunj and smiled insincerely. Little girl, shouldn't you thank me for helping you so much? Did Qin Youjiao apologize to me? Yu Hanran was speechless. Why does this little girl look like Master Du? I wonder why Master Du likes a little girl like you, Yu Hanran muttered unconsciously. Hearing this, Bei Yunj suddenly remembered something and smiled brightly. Although I know President Yu's usual habits, I still hope that if President Yu doesn't have anything serious to do, it's best if you don't bring your friends out to play. How could Yu Hanran not tell that Bei Yunj was trying to say that he was a playboy? All of a sudden, Yu Hanran knew why Bei Yunj said that. It was because of the time when he and Hua Shidu met their business partner at the clubhouse. Little girl, you've really wronged me this time. That time, I had something to discuss. Otherwise, how capable do you think I am to ask Master Du out? Yu Hanran could not help but laugh. In his heart, he was even more curious about Hua Shidu and Hua Jinyao. Originally, he thought it was the big bad wolf and the little white rabbit, but he didn't expect it to be a little fox. Interesting. After listening to the explanation, Bei Yunj raised her eyebrows. She did not expect that she had received the wrong information. I see. Bei Yunj nodded and left after saying a few words. Thank you for your hard work. Yu Hanran. After Bei Yunj left, Yu Manran changed into a pair of lower heels and came back. Where's Gu? Where's Gu? Yu Manran looked excited. Yu Hanran glanced at her. When did you meet her? Just last month. Wasn't it because... Yu Manran was about to say something, but she was worried about Bei Yunj and shut her mouth. She rolled her eyes and left. It's none of your business. Yu Hanran. After watching this big show, everyone thought that today's gossip would be over. However, they did not expect to see Mother Qin, who was wearing a lake blue cheongsam, appear in front of everyone. Everyone knew that Mother Qin had publicly severed ties with her daughter who had just been found. Chapter 209. The Qin family must have monopolized the gossip business this year. Since the second half of the year, their family has been gossiping non-stop. A baby-faced girl was speechless. Yes, if it were our family, no one would be willing to listen. The baby-faced girl was speechless. Sorry for the interruption. She was not worthy. There were also many guests in the living room. When Mrs. Qin arrived, many rich madams surrounded her. After all, the Qin family's 3 sons and their beloved daughter had always been popular in the circle. Mrs. Qin, you're finally here. Is it only the daughter of the family today? Are the young masters so difficult to invite? A madam joked. It's too difficult to manage the 3 of them. They rarely come home and have their own opinions, Mrs. Qin said with a smile. That's a blessing. All 3 of her sons are so outstanding. That's right. Not to mention the 3 sons, the daughter is also amazing. No one has been able to catch up to our Jiao Jiao since she was young, right? Mrs. Qin did not lose her composure when she heard the flattery around her. She smiled gracefully. Unexpectedly, suddenly, a madam who had just returned from the garden and was obviously not familiar with the news on the internet said frankly, Mrs. Qin's other daughter is also very good, isn't she? I saw her playing the piano in the garden just now. She's even better than Jiao Jiao. Hearing this, the harmonious atmosphere suddenly froze. One of the madams saw that Mrs. Qin's expression was not very good. She immediately pulled the honest madam and said with a smile, What are you talking about? Jiao Jiao's piano skills are one of the best in the circle. The madams present all thought that this honest madam was deliberately bragging about Bei Yunj to curry favor with Mrs. Qin. However, she should have at least asked around and found out that Mrs. Qin and the new daughter had already broken off their relationship. I'm not joking. The madam, who looked extremely young, continued to speak stubbornly. You didn't see it, but the eldest miss of the Yu family and Jiao Jiao only played the zither once, and she played every single one of them. That's amazing. She's really a genius. These words were like a slap to Mrs. Qin's face. However, this madam still looked at Mrs. Qin with approval. Nurture her well. She'll definitely bring more honor to your family than Jiao Jiao. Mrs. Qin suppressed the displeasure on her face and maintained her composure. That's not my daughter. I only have one daughter, Jiao Jiao. Ah? What did you say? The young madam was stunned. I've severed ties with her. Mrs. Li, please don't mention her to me. Mrs. Qin's tone was distant and cold. She's so pretty and smart. Mrs. Qin. Mrs. Li thought it was ridiculous. Who wouldn't want to nurture a famous artist? Is Mother Qin crazy? Done. Mother Qin's face darkened and she sneered. What do you mean by learning how to play after listening to it once? I don't even know what tricks she used. Even the madams beside her were at a loss for words. Even if the relationship was severed, Bei Yunj was still Mrs. Qin's biological daughter. How could he splash dirty water on his own daughter in front of outsiders? Mrs. Qin. Mrs. Li looked at Mrs. Qin's dark face and didn't want to continue being annoying. She could only sigh. That girl was beautiful, had an unbelievably good temperament, and played the piano well. Mrs. Qin didn't know who would be at a disadvantage if she didn't acknowledge such a daughter. Chapter 210. Mrs. Li sighed. In her heart, she still wanted to build a good relationship with Bei Yunj. This girl was born with a noble appearance. If she was her daughter, she could be a vegetarian for a year. Mrs. Qin, can you give me her contact number? Mrs. Li stepped on the tiger's tail, her expression still sincere. Mrs. Qin's expression darkened and she only said 2 words. Delete it. At this moment, the other madams were afraid that Mrs. Qin would flare up on the spot. Fortunately, Qin Youjiao arrived not long after. Mom, why are you only here now? Qin Youjiao said with a smile. Hearing this, Mrs. Qin immediately turned around and walked to Qin Youjiao's side, saying with heartache, I already said that the injury on your leg hasn't healed yet, but you still insisted on coming over to celebrate old Madame Lu's birthday. I was training overseas for a year and didn't come to see Grandma Lu. I definitely have to come this time. Hearing this, Mrs. Qin's attention was not on these words. Instead, she noticed Qin Youjiao's red eyes. Jiao Jiao, why are your eyes red? Did you cry just now? Changing the topic, Mrs. Qin's expression darkened. It's Bei Yunj, isn't it? Mrs. Qin, what are you talking about? Miss Pei didn't do anything, Mrs. Li said unhappily. Hearing this, The other madams looked at Mrs. Li with admiration. This Mrs. Li was a tough person. Suddenly, Qing Zihuai said, "Auntie Qin, I'm sorry. I didn't take good care of Jiao Jiao. How can I blame you for this?" Hearing this, Mrs. Qin's expression softened, but she hated Bei Yunj even more. As long as she came, Jiao Jiao would be in trouble. Everyone knew who Mrs. Qin was talking about. At this moment, Qin Yojiao grabbed Mrs. Qin's hand. "Mom, it's okay. I've done something to let her down before." Mrs. Qin's expression was terrible as she pursed her lips and remained silent. All of a sudden, "What's wrong with Auntie Qin?" Not far away, someone laughed. Hearing this, the darkness on Mrs. Qin's face disappeared. She went forward to hold the person's hand and said lovingly, "Yun Nu, why are you here?" This was the eldest young lady of the Yun family and the second daughter-in-law that Mrs. Qin wanted to matchmake. For Qin Yu, Yun Nuk was willing to develop in the entertainment industry. Now, she was a popular celebrity in the industry. "I wanted to see Auntie and Sister Jiao Jiao." Yun Nuo looked at Qin Yo Jiao in surprise. "Jiao Jiao, what happened to your leg?" "It's nothing. I accidentally fell." Qin Yo Jiao chuckled. Yun Nuo frowned. She had seen the news online too. She didn't know what was wrong with Qin Yu. He was suddenly so good to that new sister. And his relationship with Qin Yo Jiao seemed to have worsened. "Jiao Jiao, what happened between you and your second brother?" Yun Nuo asked gently. "I don't know either. Second brother might have heard something from someone." Qin Yo Jiao lowered her head and gripped her skirt tightly. Mother Qin sneered, "What else could it be?" Someone came back and turned the Qin family upside down. Hearing this, Mrs. Li restrained herself from arguing with Mrs. Qin. She rolled her eyes elegantly and left with her wine glass. This family seemed to be sick in the head. She was such a good daughter, yet he despised her. Yun Nuo glanced at Mrs. Li who had left. She didn't know if she should interfere in the Qin family's matters, although she had always had a good relationship with Qin Yo Jiao. However, this was also to be with Qin Yu. "Sister, the desserts here are not bad." Qin Yo Jiao suddenly took a few macarons for her and revealed the diamond necklace on her wrist intentionally or unintentionally. Chapter 211. A dark look flashed past Yun Nuo's eyes. That was the only one Qin Yu had bought at an auction in our nation. Back then, she thought that Qin Yu would give it to her, but she didn't expect him to give it to Qin Yo Jiao. This also showed how much Qin Yu loved his sister. At this thought, Yun Nuo concluded that Bei Yunj was too scheming and caused Qin Yu and Qin Yo Jiao to have a bad relationship. After all, they had been siblings for more than 10 years. At this thought, a smile appeared on Yun Nuo's face. She bent down and said to Qin Yo Jiao, "Jiao Jiao, Sister Yun Nuo will settle this for you. Just have fun." "Sister Yun Nuo," Qin Yo Jiao frowned, looking very worried. "I'm from the Yun family. No one will say anything about you. No one can touch me." Hearing this, a strange glint flashed past Qin Yo Jiao's eyes. She did not tell Yun Nuo that Bei Yunj was staying at Huishidu's place. Bei Yunj followed the streetlights and strolled around the garden. Half an hour later, she returned to the banquet. At the same time, Yun Nuo waited for about 10 minutes before she saw Bei Yunj. A trace of surprise flashed past her eyes. She had seen Bei Yunj before, but at that time, Bei Yunj gave people the feeling that she was introverted and gloomy, making people feel uncomfortable just by looking at her. However, she never thought that Bei Yunj would completely change her appearance now. "Miss Pei." After Yun Nuo regained her senses, she walked up to Bei Yunj. "What's the matter?" Bei Yunj glanced at her, her tone lazy. She walked to the long table, took some food, and placed it on the plate. "I know that you've never liked Jiao Jiao, but no matter what, Jiao Jiao has lived with her 3 brothers for so many years." Yun Nuo smiled and said, "You can't compare to her." Hearing this, Bei Yunj was not unhappy at all. Instead, she snorted. She glanced at Yun Nuo calmly and raised an eyebrow, looking extremely charming. "I can't compare to her. Why are you still talking to me?" For a moment, Promise Yun choked on her words, and her face turned red. She didn't expect Bei Yunj to speak like a completely different person. What did you say to Qin Yu? Bei Yunj glanced at her indifferently. She remembered that in the original novel, Qin Yu had indeed gotten together with Yun Nua in the end, so she couldn't be bothered to say anything. She slowly ate the dessert, but when Yun Nua saw this, her face darkened. She rarely met anyone who gave her such an attitude. Not long after, before Bei Yunj could pick up the steeped oolong tea, Yun Nua suddenly moved her elbow and bumped into Bei Yunj's hand. She knocked over the oolong tea that Bei Yunj had just picked up. Seeing this, Bei Yunj's expression did not change. Yun Nua smiled and poured a glass of water for Bei Yunj. Drink some water. Isn't it good? A moment later, Bei Yunj took the water from Yun Nua. At this moment, the smile in Yun Nua's eyes deepened. However, in the next moment, before Yun Nua could say anything, Bei Yunj suddenly raised the glass of water. She calmly met Yun Nua's gaze, her moist red lips curving. In an instant, a steady stream of warm water poured from Yun Nua's head to her tail. It made Yun Nua scream involuntarily. It also attracted everyone's attention. Miss Yun, are you awake? If you're awake, take care of yourself in the future. Bei Yunj's eyes were filled with viciousness. If it was the people around Bei Yunj in her previous life, they would all know that although Bei Yunj liked to eat desserts, she had to have tea to relieve her boredom after the meal. Chapter 212. Yun Nua had hit the nail on the head at the right time. Bei Yunj. For the first time, anger surged in Yun Nua's chest. It kept hitting her rationality as she gritted her teeth and stared at Bei Yunj. At this moment, everyone saw that Yun Nua was drenched and standing in front of Bei Yunj in a sorry state. There was also a broken teacup on the ground. It was obvious that this was the prelude to a fight. However, Bei Yunj ignored Yun Nua's presence and walked to the side, drinking her tea slowly. Seeing this, everyone's interest was piqued. Was it that good? However, Yun Nua's expression was distorted. She was so angry that she wanted to raise her hand and teach Bei Yunj a lesson. This thought flashed through Yun Nua's mind. Soon, she really took a step forward and raised her hand. Suddenly, Yun Nua, what do you want to do? The man's deep voice was cold. Instantly, Yun Nua jumped in fright and turned to look at him instinctively. Qin Yu, I was the one who poured water on me first. Yun Nua bit her lip and looked at Qin Yu with red eyes. Qin Yu had never been fierce to her before. Qin Yu pursed his lips and walked to Bei Yunj's side without a word. His voice suddenly became gentle. Are you all right? Bei Yunj's eyelids moved and she saw the nervousness in Qin Yu's eyes. I'm fine. Qin Yu, I was bullied. Are you blind? Yun Nua's usual temper flared up and she shouted angrily. If it was before, no matter how unhappy Qin Yu was, he would only ignore her. However, at this moment, she saw Qin Yu slowly turn around, his eyes cold and distant. Stay away from Ger in the future. Yun Nua's body froze as if she was filled with coldness. I'm just teaching her for you. I don't really hate her, she explained immediately. Yun Nua was really afraid that Qin Yu would ignore her. Do I need you to teach me? Qin Yu chuckled carelessly, but his tone was sarcastic. At this moment, Yun Nua completely knew why Mrs. Qin and Qin Yojiao hated Bei Yunj so much. What right did she have to make Qin Yu protect her like this? Even if they were biological siblings, they were just strangers who had only met a few times. Qin Yu, didn't you realize that because of her, your relationship with your family is already bad? Qin Yu's arrogant eyes were filled with impatience. Are you done? If you're done, don't ever appear in front of me again. Qin Yu, how long have we known each other? How many times have you met her? Yun Nua, I'll say it again. I don't like you at all. Don't make me say anything more unpleasant. Let's leave some dignity for each other. Qin Yu rarely embarrassed the opposite sex in public. Although he looked cold and arrogant, he respected girls very much. But this time, Yun Nua had touched Qin Yu's reverse scale. Yun Nua looked at Qin Yu. Seeing that he did not care about their relationship at all, she could not help but tear up. She had never suffered such grievances in her entire life. Sister Yun Nua, Why are you crying? Suddenly, Qin Youjiao and Qing Zihuai came over. Qin Youjiao comforted Yun Nuo and said softly, "Second brother won't really ignore you. Sister Yun Nuo, it'll be fine in a few days." With that said, a dark look flashed past her eyes. She did not expect Qin Yu to return at this time. She did not expect Qin Yu to not even care about Yun Nuo's face. Suddenly. Chapter 213. Hearing this, Yun Nuo's face, which was already covered in tears, paled instantly. Qin Youjiao's expression also froze and her hand that was wiping Yun Nuo's tears froze. A thought appeared in her mind. Was second brother doing this to slap her face? Qin Yu, I was wrong. Can you not be angry? Yun Nuo regretted it in her heart, but she hated Bei Yunj even more for being doted on by Qin Yu. Even Qin Youjiao back then had never made her feel so unbalanced. However, at this moment, Yun Nuo was even more afraid that Qin Yu would really refuse to appear on the screen with her. If that happened, their CP fans would definitely drop. They would also definitely sense Qin Yu's cold attitude towards her. You should apologize to my sister, not me. Qin Yu snorted, his tone cold. These words made Yun Nuo's face turn red and pale. She was the elder young miss of the Yun family after all. Even if it was Qin Youjiao, she couldn't lower her head and apologize, let alone Bei Yunj. Suddenly, there's no need. Bei Yunj said slowly, Miss Yun, you just have to take care of yourself. Yun Nuo gritted her teeth and looked at Bei Yunj angrily. However, when she felt Qin Yu's cold gaze, her expression changed immediately. It's Sister Yun's fault. Sister Yun will apologize to you. Yunj, can you forgive me? Bei Yunj's beautiful eyes relaxed and she looked bright and arrogant. No, Sister Yun. In an instant, the atmosphere was cold and silent. Yun Nuo's expression was distorted. If Qin Yu wasn't beside Bei Yunj, Yun Nuo wanted to rush up and tear Bei Yunj's face apart. Suddenly, deskmate? A low and casual young man's voice rang out. Bei Yunj turned around and saw Lu Yuanxi wearing a black t-shirt and flip-flops. His hair was messy and fluffy as he appeared in front of her. The boy was tall and handsome. He didn't look sloppy at all. Instead, he looked lazy and cute. Bei Yunj suddenly remembered. The Lu family. No wonder the teachers in the school treated him like an ancestor. Yuanxi, who are you calling? An old lady with a clear voice appeared in front of everyone. Grandma, this is my deskmate. Lu Yuanxi glanced at old Madame Lu, then raised his chin towards Bei Yunj. Your deskmate? A woman? Old Madame Lu's heart skipped a beat. When she turned around and saw Bei Yunj clearly, she was even more shocked. Wasn't this the girl she had tried to blackmail last time? Didn't she still have a son and a very handsome and young husband? Bei Yunj, who met the old madame's gaze, was speechless. To think that there was such a fate. You're not that. Bei Yunj interrupted old Madame Lu with a smile. My name is Bei Yunj. I've met old Madame Lu before. This scene confused Qin Yu and the others. They did not know how the two of them had met. Only Lu Yuanxi rubbed the back of his head and suddenly remembered something. Last month, he had seen his grandma blackmailing a girl on the streets and wanted to introduce her to him. Suddenly, Lu Yuanxi's expression darkened. This old lady had even blackmailed Bei Yunj. Had she gone crazy from missing her granddaughter-in-law? So, old Madame Lu roughly understood what was going on, but she was not angry. Instead, she was full of smiles. Yes, we've met before. The two of us are fated to meet. Chapter 214. Hearing this, everyone felt a little strange. What's wrong, old madam? Are you planning to acknowledge a granddaughter on the spot? Lu Yuanxi sneered slowly. Old Madame Lu almost couldn't maintain her smile. It was too difficult to get a granddaughter-in-law. This foolish grandson was so disappointing. At this moment, Mrs. Qin and the other madams, who did not know what was going on, walked over. When they saw old Madame Lu, a glint flashed past their eyes. She went forward to hold old Madame Lu's hand and said with a smile, Old madam, it's your birthday banquet today. Why are you outside in the cold wind? Let's go back to the living room quickly. With that said, Mrs. Qin glanced at Bei Yunj. After frowning slightly, she called out gently, Jiao Jiao, come and talk to your Grandma Lu. Okay, then let's go to the living room first. Old Madame Lu smiled. When she saw Qin Youjiao sitting in a wheelchair on the way, she frowned unconsciously. Jiao Jiao, what happened to your leg? It's nothing. I accidentally fell downstairs. Don't worry, I didn't hurt my bones. I'll recover in a week. Then you have to be careful in the future. It's not good to have a scar on a girl's leg. Old Madame Lu nodded and reminded her. In the living room. Gudu, whose daughter are you? Before Mrs. Qin and Old Madame Lu could get close, Old Madame Lu looked at Bei Yunj impatiently. It was obvious that she was very interested in Bei Yunj. However, when Mrs. Qin heard this, her expression froze and she glanced coldly at Bei Yunj with disgust. It was as if she was afraid that others would associate her with Bei Yunj. But who knew? Me. Bei Yunj raised her eyebrows slowly and chuckled slowly. I live in an orphanage. Old Madame Lu's expression was pitiful. Oh, your parents are dead. Suddenly, Lu Yunxi, who was eating spaghetti, covered his mouth and coughed lightly, choking. Everyone was speechless. What kind of suffocating scene was this? At this moment, Old Madame Lu was still chatting enthusiastically with Bei Yunj, but she did not notice how terrible Mrs. Qin's expression was. Until Qin Yu returned from the washroom. Mrs. Qin's expression softened slightly and she said to Qin Youjiao with a coy smile, Jiao Jiao, did your second brother buy this bracelet for you when he went to country R? Yes. A coy expression appeared on Qin Youjiao's face and she could not help but look at Qin Yu again. This bracelet was made purely by hand. There's only one in the world. The lady beside her had a discerning eye. This bracelet is worth at least 20 to 30 million, right? Second young master really dotes on Miss Qin Youjiao. Many people present also noticed Qin Youjiao's last sentence. There was only one in the world. In that case, Qin Yu didn't give it to Bei Yunj and only gave it to Qin Youjiao. Everyone had different thoughts, but they all felt that this little princess who had been doted on by the Qin family for more than 10 years would not fall out of favor so easily. Yu doesn't come home often, but he's willing to buy things for his sister, Mrs. Qin said with a smile when she realized that she had achieved her goal. Instead of looking at Mrs. Qin, Qin Yu turned his head and chuckled. Oh, why aren't you wearing anything at the banquet? Bei Yunj's eyebrows moved and she looked at Qin Yu. You haven't worn what second brother bought for you before. Qin Yu chuckled and took out an exquisite and beautiful necklace from his pocket. Chapter 215. So, Bei Yunj felt a cool touch in front of her collarbone. After Qin Yu put on the necklace for Bei Yunj, he let go of her hand calmly. Looking at Bei Yunj, his gaze was deep and gentle. My girl is very pretty. Suddenly, someone's knife and fork fell on the table, attracting the attention of many people. F***C, sister, look at that necklace. Is it the Queen of Pozeebi's necklace? The baby-faced girl shook her sister's hand crazily. You must have seen wrongly. Of course not. I studied jewelry design for nothing. This is definitely the real deal. I remember that there was a big brand that imitated this necklace and produced a custom-made product. It cost 40 million. The baby-faced girl looked excited. Hearing this, the rest of the people were stunned. Queen of Pozeebi's necklace. He remembered that 10 years ago, the last auction had been sold for more than 98 million. Today, it could only become more and more valuable. Is this very expensive? Bei Yunj furrowed her eyebrows. She remembered that Qin Yu had given the original protagonist this necklace before. However, she did not expect it to be so valuable. It's all right. Qin Yu smirked. The price of this necklace that Qin Yu had bid for was 160 million. After all, this was a real antique and had collectible value. Qin Yu remembered that he was still filming in our nation at that time. Because Qin Youjiao kept quarreling and insisted on getting a bracelet from an auction, he also went to bid for it. But because this bracelet was unique, Qin Yu remembered that he had a new sister at home and he wanted to prepare a gift for her. So, he secretly bid for this Queen of Pozibi's necklace. After all, this was his first gift for his new sister. At this thought, Qin Yu's gaze on Bei Yunj became gentler. This might be the only thing he had done right in his previous life. When did second brother buy that necklace for Yunj? Qin Yujiao suppressed her emotions, but her eyes were red with jealousy and she felt even more indignant. This should have belonged to her. When Ge returned to the Qin family for the first time, Qin Yu's eyes turned cold calmly and he sneered. Hearing this, not only Qin Yujiao, even Mrs. Qin did not expect Qin Yu to give Bei Yunj such an expensive gift in private. Even for Qin Yujiao, the most expensive thing was the bracelet she was wearing today. In an instant, Qin Yujiao's face paled. She found this hard to believe. Bei Yunj touched the necklace in front of her collarbone, wondering why the original owner of her body didn't sell this thing. At this moment, old Madame Lu tugged at Lu Yuanxi's sleeve and asked curiously, "What's the relationship between Ge and the Qin family?" "Oh, the second lady on your left is the mother of my deskmate." Lu Yuanxi continued to eat his noodles. "I don't want to." Suddenly, the back of Lu Yuanxi's head suffered a palm strike. Old Madame Lu was angry and annoyed. "You rascal, why didn't you tell me earlier?" This palm almost pressed Lu Yuanxi's head into the ground. "Lu Yuanxi, what did this have to do with her?" "Don't poke your nose into other people's business." Lu Yuanxi furrowed his eyebrows. His deskmate was a barrel of explosives that could explode at any time. Was he tired of living if he went up to her now? Old Madame Lu despised and hated him. Is this brat's brain all used on gaming? Don't you have any feelings for Ge? Chapter 216. Old Madam, you just woke up too? Lu Yuanxi chuckled and continued to eat his noodles. The corners of old Madame Lu's lips twitched. She suspected that their Lu family might have no descendants because of this little b** starred. If this little girl is abducted, you'll regret it. With that said, old Madame Lu suddenly thought of the man who pretended to be Bei Yunj's husband last time. He was young and handsome and looked equally dignified. There's no hope. Old Madame Lu's eyelids twitched. Compared to that young man, Lu Yuanxi was indeed too different. Yu Hanran also brought Yu Manran to the living room. However, before Yu Hanran could find a seat and sit beside Bei Yunj, Qin Yu suddenly said gently, "Hanan, I have something to talk to you about." Yu Hanran was perplexed. What was wrong with Qin Yu? Had he already forgotten that they were sworn enemies? Yu Hanran's eyelids twitched, but he still sat beside Qin Yu. He was about to speak. "Are you, at least you know what's good for you." Qin Yu snorted. Yu Hanran was speechless. "I know that my sister is good-looking and outstanding. It's normal for you to be moved. But you should control yourself." Qin Yu smiled and patted Yu Hanran's shoulder gently. A man can't help himself. This is called committing a crime. Seeing Qin Yu look like he was going to punish him personally at any time, Yu Hanran felt that it was ridiculous. "Stop talking nonsense," Yu Hanran said immediately. Qin Yu asked, "Is my sister not good-looking?" "You don't like this kind of face?" "I do." "Then can you control yourself?" "I can control myself." Before Yu Hanran could finish answering, he realized that this question was a trap. No matter how he answered, it would be like he was lusting after his sister. "Qin Yu, are you deliberately finding trouble with me?" Yu Hanran took a deep breath and looked at Qin Yu with a cold smile. "Don't think that you can take advantage of me just because I don't have time to take care of Ge." Qin Yu refused to give up. His face was almost filled with, "Don't even think about it, dream on." However, Yu Hanran was confused. When did he show that he was interested in Bei Yunj? Now, Qin Yu was staring at him like he was a thief. "Why do you think that I'm interested in your Ge?" Yu Hanran put on a fake smile. If it weren't for the wrong occasion, he would have fought with this dog. "You don't need to know." Qin Yu's eyes were arrogant and handsome. His tone was lazy with a faint sneer, but he was secretly sighing in his heart. He did not expect Master Du to treat him so well. Knowing that Yu Hanran was restless, He still remembered to ask Assistant Tseng to remind him to be more vigilant. Sure enough, so many years of brotherhood were worth cherishing. Suddenly, did Hua Shidu tell you? Yu Hanran thought about it. This was the only person who could fan the flames. But, are you feeling guilty? Qin Yu glanced at him. Yu Hanran's face twitched. Great, there's actually a thief calling out to stop the thief. Are you stupid? Yu Hanran couldn't help but scold. Yu Hanran, are you itching for a beating? Qin Yu's expression also darkened. Me? Qin Yu, take a F***king look. Do I look like someone who would steal your little cabbage? Yu Hanran laughed in anger. Qin Yu snorted. Yu Hanran, do you have some misunderstanding about yourself? At this moment. What are you talking about? Bei Yunj asked. Chapter 217. Nothing. Qin Yu and Yu Hanran pretended that nothing had happened. When Yu Manran saw this, he could tell at a glance that Qin Yu and Yu Hanran had a good relationship. Then I'll go back first. I still have something to do. Bei Yunj didn't like to stay in such a place. Then second brother will send you. Qin Yu said instinctively. No need. A chauffeur will pick me up later. In the eyes of outsiders, Bei Yunj's attitude was nothing, but Qin Yu could clearly feel that Ger's attitude towards him was still cold. Qin Yu's eyes darkened. Go back and rest early. Bei Yunj glanced at him. You too. After greeting old Madame Lu, Bei Yunj turned and left. However, at this moment, Qin Yu's expression was happy. His eyes were dark and bright and the corners of his lips could not help but curl up. Was Gu-er concerned about him just now? After getting this understanding, Qin Yu decided to work hard so that Gu-er could accept him as her second brother again. Until he regained his senses. Qin Yu saw Yu Hanran raise an eyebrow and look at him with a gloating gaze. Did Qin Yu's usual intelligence lose all of it when it came to his sister? More. Don't you like to eat cabbage? Qin Yu picked up a few cabbages for Yu Hanran in a friendly manner. Yu Hanran took a deep breath and chuckled soon. He really picked up his wooden chopsticks and ate the cabbage calmly. Your cabbage? King planted your cabbage in someone else's den and you're still afraid of being bitten. Although Yu Hanran was angry, he was still a person who liked to watch a show. He would not tell Qin Yu the truth. Looking at the current situation, he wanted to know if Master Du would take away Qin Yu's cabbage. At this thought, Yu Hanran glanced at Qin Yu gloatingly. He really wanted to know what expression Qin Yu would have if he saw Master Du personally poaching his cabbage. The grading speed of Hengda High School was very fast. The next afternoon, the papers were all distributed. Bei Yunj bit her straw and glanced at her 6 test papers. It was not surprising that she had scored more than 300 points. But she didn't expect Chu Zhixing's science results to be so good. Other than chemistry, where he lost 2 marks for one question, he scored full marks for the rest of the subjects. However, when Bei Yunj caught a glimpse of Chu Zhixing's English and Chinese papers, her eyelids twitched. Her science results were almost full marks, but her liberal arts results were not up to par. Master Pei, your Chinese and English are really good, Chu Zhixing said enviously. Bei Yunj looked at her Chinese and English scores of 70 to 80 points. She couldn't help but twitch her lips. She didn't know how to answer him. Very tall? Let me see. Lu Yuanxi, who had just returned from playing basketball, heard Bei Yunj and Chu Zhixing discussing the results, and his eyes lit up. Language 78 marks, English 87 marks. When Lu Yuanxi saw this, he couldn't suppress the smile on his face. Until he realized that Bei Yunj was looking at him with a faint smile. Lu Yuanxi's smile disappeared and he patted Bei Yunj's shoulder. Don't be discouraged, deskmate. Although your scores aren't high, I can teach you. With that said, Lu Yuanxi turned around with a refreshing smile on his face, only to see the English papers he was proud of lying flat on the table. The bold red 68-foot made Lu Yuanxi's whole body stiffen. However, at this moment, Chu Zhixing spoke. Brother Lu, how many marks did you get in English? Chapter 218. Chu Zhixing guessed with an envious expression. 145? 146? Seeing that Lu Yuanxi did not answer, Chu Zhixing thought that his guess was still too low and his expression became even more impressed. He did not expect Brother Lu to really be a hidden genius. At this moment, Bei Yunj happened to glance to the side and saw the clear 68-foot. Immediately, Lu Yuanxi heard a soft laugh from the side, as if someone could not hold it in. Lu Yuanxi looked at Bei Yunj expressionlessly and gritted his teeth. It must be a mistake. He grew up in our country, how could his score be so low? It was even lower than Bei Yunj's? Brother Lu? Before Chu Zhixing could ask, he was interrupted by Lu Yuanxi. Shut up. At first, Chu Zhixing was confused until he saw the 68-foot on Lu Yuanxi's paper. After a moment of silence, Chu Zhixing quietly put away his 66 paper, afraid that he would agitate Lu Yuanxi. However, at this moment, Bei Yunj showed a rare trace of pity and comforted him. At least the total score is over 100. Lu Yuanxi really wanted to curse. In class 1. Jiao Jiao, what kind of big boss are you? You're second in the cohort again. The girl could not help but be excited. I'm lucky. Qin Youjiao smiled. It was only when Ling Jiwei walked into class 1 that her eyes lit up. Jiao Jiao, I heard a teacher praising you in the office just now. You're second again and first in the liberal arts. Ling Jiwei teased, isn't it time to treat us? Every time we take an exam, you all find reasons to exploit me. Qin Youjiao said coquettishly. Who asked Jiao Jiao to be so amazing? At this point, Ling Jiwei suddenly remembered Bei Yunj's results that she had seen in the office just now and a mocking look appeared in her eyes. Unlike someone who can't be helped by mud. Wei, are you talking about that Bei Yunj? Qin Youjiao was also quite popular with girls in class. The girls who often followed Qin Youjiao naturally didn't like Bei Yunj. Especially not long ago, Bei Yunj was ranked first in the Tieba forum for the most beautiful girl in school. Qin Youjiao's total votes were not even 1/5 of Bei Yunj's. Yeah, a total score of more than 300 points, 28th from the bottom of the grade. Ling Jiwei's tone was sarcastic and gloating. With these grades, I don't even know what university you can go to. Hearing this, a dark look flashed past Qin Youjiao's eyes as she heaved a sigh of relief in her heart. Ever since she saw Bei Yunj playing the piano at the Lu family's house yesterday, she had been feeling uneasy. She was afraid that there would be a change in her performance today. Fortunately, Bei Yunj's results were within her expectations. She couldn't be compared to her. She came from that kind of high school. It's normal for her not to adapt at first. Qin Youjiao smiled faintly. What do you mean? She was a bad student in her original high school, let alone in a school like ours. Ling Jiwei was smug. She wanted to see how Bei Yunj would be slapped in the face after finding out about Qin Youjiao's results. At noon, Bei Yunj received a call from Marcus. Yunj, someone wants to buy the licensing rights for our project. Do you know about the Delaney Group? Marcus was extremely excited. Before the patent was officially released, Delaney had already offered a sky-high patent fee. One could imagine how popular Bei Yunj's first project was. Chapter 219. Even the top technology group in our nation wanted to buy out Bei Yunj's project patent, as if they were afraid that she would sell it to someone else. However, Marcus did not expect that before he could be happy for long, Bei Yunj said slowly, I'm not selling it. Marcus was speechless. I say, little ancestor, do you know how much Delaney paid for this patent fee? A patent fee of 10 figures. Is my patent cabbage? Bei Yunj smiled faintly. Marcus was speechless. 10 figures. It's signed for 5 years, Bei Yunj said concisely. In her previous life, Bei Yunj's first project had won the top award in the industry. As a result, the most news about her on the internet was about her sky-high patent fee that was skyrocketing every year. This was really a big boss who dared to suck the blood of capitalists. However, the capitalists had a love-hate relationship with this big boss. At this moment, Marcus calmed down and quickly organized his words. He smiled carefully and said, but our project isn't completed yet. Delaney is interested in the prospects of our project, but it's hard to say if we can expand the market. Then we can let him wait for my project to finish. With that said, Bei Yunj added slowly, when the time comes, the fee will be doubled. Marcus's heart skipped a beat. He sucked in a breath of cold air and hurriedly said, "Oh, then I'll talk to Delaney first." After Bei Yunj hung up the phone, she returned to class leisurely with her milk tea. However, Bei Yunj did not expect to see Chu Zhixing memorizing words alone. "Have you eaten?" Bei Yunj returned to her seat and asked. Chu Zhixing was caught secretly memorizing words. He looked a little shy and shook his head. Bei Yunj raised an eyebrow and said lazily, "Just nice. I don't want to drink anymore." With that said, Chu Zhixing saw the milk tea on the table. "Thank you." Chu Zhixing glanced at the girl who was playing with her iPad with her head propped up. He could not help but feel his heart warm. "Why are you suddenly so interested in foreign languages?" Bei Yunj asked casually. "I want to apply for the summer camp at Our Nation's Medical Institute. I've always been interested in medicine, but..." Chu Zhixing scratched his head. "My language skills are not good. I can't even write an application form." A dark look flashed past Bei Yunj's eyes. She turned her head to look at Chu Zhixing. "Let me see." Chu Zhixing was stunned for a moment. He then took out an application form for the medical institute and a handwritten application description and handed them to Bei Yunj. After reading Chu Zhixing's handwritten instructions, Bei Yunj said, "Actually, you don't have to apply." Chu Zhixing's science results were indeed excellent. He also had a lot of medical knowledge and had a lot of opinions. To be able to reach such a level at his age, he was indeed a good seedling. "No." Chu Zhixing thought that Bei Yunj was planning to open the door for him, so he said nervously, "Wange, forget it. I want to get in through my own efforts. I don't want to be looked down upon." From the medicine last time, Chu Zhixing roughly knew that Bei Yunj should know someone from the Our Nation's Research Institute. However, there had always been a person in the Our Nation's Research Institute who had been his idol. He did not want that person to think that he had gotten in through the back door. Who knew, however? Bei Yunj's eyes suddenly curved as she teased slowly, Then who does little Chu want to be looked down upon?" Chapter 220. Chu Zhixing's face flushed red. No one. It's not considered letting you in through the back door." Bei Yunj chuckled. She was planning to talk to Stephen about Chu Zhixing's handwritten application when she was free. As for whether he would accept it or not, it was all up to Stephen. "Thank you very much, Yunj. But this application has a different meaning to me. I want to get his approval personally." Chu Zhixing smiled. Hearing this, Bei Yunj did not say anything. She only turned around and leaned on the table to take a nap. Until class started. Bei Yunj took out a blank piece of paper from the drawer. After pondering for a while, she started to write the entire page. Then, before Chu Zhixing came back with water, she casually put the paper into Chu Zhixing's English textbook and continued to sleep on the table. After school, Bei Yunj had just gotten into the car when she suddenly remembered the parent-teacher conference. "Uncle Zhang, let's go to the whole corporation." Uncle Zhang nodded with a smile. "Okay, Mississippi." Not long after, Bei Yunj sent Huashidu another message. "Brother, I'll wait for you at the company today." A minute or two later, Bei Yunj received a reply. "Okay, I'll get Tsing Su to bring you upstairs." Seeing this message, Bei Yunj smiled calmly. Half an hour passed. At the Hua Corporation, Tsing Su saw Bei Yunj's figure from afar and immediately went forward to block the sun for Bei Yunj with a folder. "Miss Pei, the sun is so strong. You have to bring an umbrella next time." Tsing Su smiled. "Thank you for your concern, Assistant Tseng." After Bei Yunj and Tsing Su walked into the company, she smiled brightly. "All right, is Assistant Tseng free next Friday?" Tsing Su's eyelid twitched and he had a bad feeling. "Do you need my help with anything? I wonder if I can trouble Assistant Tseng to hold a parent-teacher conference for me next Friday?" When Bei Yunj smiled, her eyes were curved and her eyes were clear and harmless. However, when Tsing Su heard this, he was scared out of his wits. What kind of joke was this? holding a parent-teacher meeting for Miss Pei. Wouldn't Master Du bury him alive? Why doesn't Miss Pei try asking Master Du? Tseng Su smiled fawningly. Master Du dotes on you so much, why would he reject your request? I'm afraid that my brother will be scolded if he goes. Bei Yunj blinked her clear and beautiful eyes and said honestly. Tseng Su, so you want me to be scolded? Miss Pei, please spare me. How would I dare to be your guardian? Tseng Su wanted to cry but had no tears. Bei Yunj. Then I'll think of another way. Since she had left the Qin family, she certainly wouldn't let the Qin family hold a parent-teacher conference for her. However, she had just taken over this body not long ago, so she did not know many people. Looking for Elder Zhong. Letting an extremely famous researcher sit in her classroom and be scolded did not sound like something a human would do. Looking for Yu Manran? He would be at the top of the headlines the next day. As for Marcus, who was far away overseas, that was even more unrealistic. Bei Yunj, who was thinking about this problem, unknowingly pushed open the door of the president's office. You're here? A man's deep voice sounded. Yes. Bei Yunj reacted and placed her backpack on the coffee table. Immediately after, she saw a slender and good-looking hand holding a bottle of milk and placing it in front of her. Yun Yun, play by yourself first. I have a meeting to attend later. Chapter 221. Bei Yunj looked at the milk that seemed to have been specially prepared for her and her pretty eyes moved unconsciously. Got it. She reached out to take the milk. Seeing this, the man chuckled softly and only left the office when someone outside reminded him. However, not long after, Bei Yunj pushed her homework aside and took out her iPad to check on the follow-up of her 2 interns' projects. Suddenly, Bei Yunj received several messages from Yu Manran. Qin Youjiao wants to enter the entertainment industry? I heard that she's planning to sign a contract with your second brother's personal studio. Is this woman manipulating public opinion for the sake of convenience in the future? I've already seen the company's marketing accounts clearing her name. Smile? Are you there? After reading these messages, Bei Yunj raised an eyebrow slightly. Indeed, she did not expect Qin Youjiao to choose to enter the entertainment industry at this time. According to the original novel's development, Qin Youjiao should have entered the entertainment industry after graduating from university. Bei Yunj moved her fingers lightly and typed a paragraph of text. The new song is pretty good. Practice your high notes well this month. The next new song will be the one that made you famous. At this moment, Yu Manran, who was drinking water backstage, choked and coughed violently as his eyes widened in disbelief. Sister Man, can you not look like a young girl in love? Why are you staring at your phone and smiling foolishly? What if the paparazzi take photos of you? The manager's eyelids twitched uncontrollably. She really did not expect Yu Manran to be so lucky to meet a benefactor in a bar. This new song made Yu Manran's popularity surpass several popular A-list female celebrities. If the next song could still be so popular, Yu Manran would definitely jump into the ranks of the A-list celebrities this year. I was chatting with Gunter just now. We were talking about a new song. Yu Manran was a little weak. His recent popularity had already made Yu Manran feel that it was unreal. And Bei Yunj's words just now made Yu Manran feel like he was dreaming. The manager was suddenly even more agitated than Yu Manran. What did she say to you? Yu Manran's eyelids twitched. He turned to look at her and said, she told me to practice my high notes properly. My next song will be the one that will make me famous. If someone else had said something like this, she might have thought that the person was bragging. But Bei Yunj was different. That new song had only been released for less than a week, but it had already dominated all the charts in the country. Recently, the popularity of his new songs overseas had also been rising. There were even well-known singers who adapted and covered the song. In this situation, even she felt that this song was enough for Yu Manran to earn a lifetime of dividends. However, Bei Yunj even told Yu Manran that the next song would be Yu Manran's masterpiece. The manager felt goosebumps all over her body. Man, Did your ancestors accumulate virtue for 18 lifetimes? How could such a lucky thing happen to her? Yumanran said frankly, I'm starting to think so too. The manager was speechless. However, Yumanran still couldn't help but worry. Qin Yojiao's motive for entering the entertainment industry was definitely not that simple. What if she was planning to use her identity as an artiste to step on Bei Yunj? In the villa, Qin Yu had just taken a shower when he saw his manager's serious expression. What's wrong? He looked up. Miss Qin signed up for our studio. Chapter 222. What? Qin Yu's handsome eyes were like thick ink as the corners of his lips curled up slightly. Was Qin Yojiao crazy? Miss Qin wants to enter the entertainment industry. Logically speaking, staying with her brother would be more. She would feel more at ease. Before the manager could finish speaking, he felt Qin Yu's cold gaze and shut up instinctively. My younger sister only has Bei Yunj. Don't forget it. Qin Yu snorted. Get rid of this person in the first round. If she appears in my studio, then I'll get rid of you. Do you understand? Hearing this, the manager felt a chill run down his spine and nodded hurriedly. Brother Yu, don't worry. I won't let her in. At the same time, the manager could not understand why Qin Yu had changed his attitude towards Qin Yojiao. In the past, although Qin Yu did not come home often, it was obvious that he doted on Qin Yojiao. However, what he was sure of now was that the newly returned Miss Pei had completely become the person Qin Yu was most nervous about. At the Hua Corporation, Bei Yunj twirled the pen in her hand and slowly did her homework. Suddenly, the door was pushed open gently and a coquettish voice sounded. Is Assistant Singh here? Bei Yunj did not even look up as she said casually, no. However, hearing the reply, the smile on the female secretary's face froze. It was obvious that she did not expect there to be a woman inside. She had been in the company for almost 3 months and had found out that President Hua was not close to women. Even the staff around him were all men. But what was with this voice in the office? After some thought, the female secretary could not help but push the door open and enter. But what he didn't expect was to see a bright and beautiful girl sitting by the coffee table doing her homework. She was stunned for a moment before she smiled and said, Are you President Hua's younger sister? Bei Yunj's pen stopped. She did not expect her to come in. Her red lips curved and she looked even more charming, but her words were ambiguous. If that's the case, then you can say so. These words made the female secretary's smile freeze. What did this girl mean? Alarm bells rang in the female secretary's heart. Did President Hua agree to Miss being here? The female secretary seemed to treat herself as a regular here. At this moment, Bei Yunj didn't answer her question. She just bit her straw and wrote the question slowly. However, seeing that Bei Yunj didn't say anything, the secretary thought that Bei Yunj was guilty. Little girl, are you President Hua's friend's little sister? The female secretary was a little smart. She knew that Bei Yunj wouldn't be able to enter this office building if she didn't have a high status. But little girl, you probably don't know that President Hua doesn't like women in his office, the female secretary said again. Upon hearing this, Bei Yunj looked up and sized her up. The female secretary was wearing a suit skirt that was cut short to her thighs. Her legs in black stockings were especially sexy. So, shouldn't you go out? Bei Yunj raised her eyebrows and looked at her calmly. There was no warmth in his eyes, which inexplicably made the female secretary a little flustered. I'm here to look for Assistant Seng. I have some work matters to hand over. On the other hand, isn't it inappropriate for Miss to be doing homework here? Why don't I bring you to the reception room? Chapter 223. Bei Yunj glanced at this troublesome woman and then glanced at the phone screen. They will be back in 3 minutes. Why aren't you leaving? Miss, please come out with me. As an employee, I have to do my best for my boss. The female secretary did not believe that this girl really knew when Master Du would be back. If he really came back in 3 minutes, would she dare to sit here? What if I don't go out? Bei Yunj leaned lazily against the sofa. Her black curly hair was spread out casually, but her eyes were soul-stirring. Even as a woman, she could feel how seductive this girl was. The female secretary gritted her teeth and deliberately scared her. "Miss, you don't want me to ask the security guards to ask you to leave, do you? A young lady with such a good family background should be the most afraid of losing face." "Miss Secretary, did you misunderstand something?" Bei Yunj suddenly smiled. Hearing this, the female secretary could not help but walk towards Bei Yunj. She thought that Bei Yunj was afraid and was about to give in. "What did you misunderstand?" The female secretary waited for Bei Yunj to explain clearly. Unexpectedly, Bei Yunj suddenly stood up. Bei Yunj leaned close to her ear and said in a clear tone, "I'm not your president's sister. I'm his child bride." Hearing this, the female secretary's legs almost went weak. She had heard that many wealthy families groomed outstanding wives for their heirs. But in this era, very few people did so. Then, before the female secretary could retort, the man's light voice suddenly sounded from the door. "Yun Yun, what are you doing?" Huashidu had just pushed open the door when he saw this young lady's eyes crinkling. He did not know what she said to the woman beside her, but that woman's expression changed drastically. This child was making a fuss again. When Bei Yunj saw that Huashidu had returned, she sat back on the sofa and looked at the female secretary again with a smile. The female secretary did not expect Bei Yunj to be telling the truth. President Hua actually came back at this time. She was flustered, especially when she met Huashidu's cold eyes. President Hua, who let you in?" The man's tone was still cold and indifferent, but the oppressive feeling around him sent chills down her spine. The secretary's pretty face turned pale, and she subconsciously looked at Bei Yunj who was sitting on the sofa. She gritted her teeth and pointed at Bei Yunj. "I'm here to look for Assistant Seng, but I didn't expect to see this lady in your office. That's why I thought of a way to get her to move to another place, to stay." The female secretary's voice became softer and softer. She knew that she must have offended Huashidu this time. She could only make this man soften his heart a little with her red eyes. "Is Tseng Su the owner of this office? Are you looking for him here?" Huashidu's gaze swept over her indifferently. He walked straight to his desk and pressed a few buttons on the landline. Soon, Tseng Su arrived. "Master Du." When Tseng Su saw a pretty female secretary appear in Huashidu's office with red eyes, he immediately realized what was going on. These women really dared to praise him. Before everyone entered the company, they were warned not to enter the president's office. However, every year, there would be people who thought that they were exceptions and could gain Master Du's favor. How stupid! Tseng Su cursed in his heart. He knew that Master Du would blame him again. Chapter 224. Is this the person you've interviewed? The man's pair of lustful eyes were dangerous and deep. Tseng Su quickly lowered his head. "Master Du, I didn't take good care of the newbie. Get her out." Huashidu's casual words made Tseng Su wonder if he had heard wrongly. However, when his gaze landed on the person on the sofa, he seemed to have understood something. It turned out that there was a life-saving talisman. Tseng Su took a deep breath and looked at the newbie with an unpleasant expression. "Who let you in?" The female secretary bit her lip and glanced at Bei Yunj, who was sitting on the sofa. Her face immediately turned red and pale. She felt the difference in status between her and this girl sitting on the sofa. "I'm here to look for you," the female secretary cried. When Tseng Su heard that the female secretary still dared to push the matter to him, he suppressed his anger with a fake smile. "You came to the president's office to look for me?" The female secretary, Get out!" Tseng Su reprimanded with a dark expression. The female secretary looked at Huashidu unwillingly. In the end, her gaze landed on Bei Yunj. She did not believe that this girl's words were true. In the next moment, the female secretary left with Tseng Su. "What were you talking to someone about just now?" After they left, Huashidu sat on the sofa again and glanced at Bei Yunj's one-page homework. "I was helping brother." Bei Yunj's tone was calm, but her eyes were clear and seductive. Huashidu let out a long laugh. His well-defined hand slowly tugged at his tie lazily and ostentatiously. What did Yun help brother with? Brother has a lot of love affairs. Bei Yunj looked at Huashidu's noble and handsome appearance and her eyes curved. If I cut them off, will brother's heart ache? The man's magnetic voice was low and flirtatious. He pinched Bei Yunj's face casually. How would I dare, little kid? There was a hint of indulgence in his casual flirtatious tone. The only thing Bei Yunj could see was the mole on the tip of her throat. She was emboldened. Brother, come closer. Let's discuss something. What is it? Huashidu's eyes were faint, but the corners of his upturned eyes were charming. When he lowered his eyes, his posture was so intimate and sexy that it made people blush. In fact, on the way, Tseng Su told him about the little guy's parent-teacher conference. However, at this moment, Huashidu looked at Bei Yunj in front of him thoughtfully, as if he was thinking about something. Brother, seeing this, Huashidu raised his eyebrows. He did not expect Bei Yunj to be so hesitant because of the parent-teacher conference. However, Huashidu soon realized that this young lady was clearly so bold that she was not afraid of the consequences. Suddenly, her fair and slender hand directly touched the mole on the man's Adam's apple. Huashidu's gaze quickly turned dark and aggressive. He immediately grabbed that lawless hand. Bei Yunj saw the mole move along with the man's sexy Adam's apple. It made her heart tremble. Then she looked up and sensed a dangerous emotion in the man's eyes. It was almost indiscernible. Bei Yunj, she had gone overboard. The man licked his thin red lips, his gaze fixed on her. His low and hoarse laughter tickled her eardrums. It was so sexy and made her heart itch. The darkness in his eyes made her legs go weak. Child, why are you being a hooligan? Chapter 225. Bei Yunj's brain froze. She could not calm down when she saw this scene. The man looked at her angrily and amusedly. He did not know where this young lady got the courage to touch his Adam's apple. After sorting out his emotions, Huashidu leaned closer and rubbed his fingers against her face intimately. His low and magnetic voice was ambiguous and ostentatious. Do you want to see how bad I am? The light in the man's eyes was hidden. His evil and lustful demeanor made one's heart tremble. As soon as he finished speaking, the female secretary, who had pretended to come back to get something and was still unwilling to give up, happened to see this scene clearly. Her pupils constricted. President Hua. At this moment, Tseng Su arrived very quickly. Huashidu had just turned to look when he heard him reprimand her. Yu Qinya, since you're restless in the headquarters, transfer to another post now. Tseng Su's expression was ugly. He did not expect this woman to be so stupid and scheming. Suddenly Huashidu, who had not cared much about this matter, spoke. There's no need to transfer. When the female secretary heard this, she was overjoyed. She thought that Huashidu was starting to take pity on her. However, in the next moment, the man's tone was indifferent and still unreasonable. The whole corporation doesn't need such an employee. In an instant, the female secretary's face turned pale. She did not expect to end up in an even worse state. President Hua, I am just here to look for something. The female secretary was incoherent and felt cold all over. She did not expect Huashidu to fire her directly. Tseng Su, are you taking the company's year-end bonus to retire in the company? The man sneered. Tseng Su, Master Du, I was wrong. I'll deduct this year's year-end bonus. If there are any employees who don't abide by the dress code next time, they will all be fired. Huashidu's heartless words made Tseng Su's scalp tingle. Yes, Master Du, please continue with your work. I'll handle the rest. After speaking, Tseng Su glanced at the female secretary bitterly. He was prepared to transfer this group of slightly good-looking people who wanted to seduce the president. He wanted to prevent all actions that would harm his year-end bonus next year. After Tseng Su sent them away, Bei Yunj watched as Huashidu walked to his desk and prepared to work. She could not help but ask, Brother, are you angry? Hearing this, Huashidu glanced at her slowly and did not say anything, so that she wouldn't dare to touch anyone's Adam's apple in the future. Brother? At some point, Bei Yunj had dragged a chair and sat across from him. She rested her chin on her hand and smiled as she watched Washidu review the documents. Bei Yunj leaned on the desk again and said with a smile, "Brother, but I don't have an Adam's apple for you to touch." The man's strokes were smooth and flowing. Suddenly, Bei Yunj's red lips curled up again. There seemed to be light in her eyes and her clear voice sounded like it could melt one's bones. Brother Shidu, the elegant and noble man's upturned eyes narrowed, but the ink in his hand was dizzy and almost fell. He slowly raised his eyes and looked at the little girl who was about to turn into a spirit. He couldn't do anything to her and laughed softly. Washidu reached out with his slender hand and gently tapped her smooth forehead with the pen cap. His seductive and magnetic voice was filled with a smile as he casually imitated her tone. "Don't be coy. Brother Shidu can't take it." This seductive look was simply too alluring. Even Bei Yunj's heart beat faster when she saw this scene. She suddenly stood up, turned around, and walked to the coffee table to do her homework. Chapter 226. Seeing that the girl did not even raise her head, Washidu smiled silently and continued to read the documents in his hand. The next day, Chu Zhixing held the handwritten translation document in his hand and took a long time to confirm that this was the translation of his application instructions. In the entire class, only Bei Yunj knew that he was going to write this. However, what made Chu Zhixing incredulous was that this time, he had written a lot of medical terms in the instructions seriously. Bei Yunj was actually able to complete this instruction in school. It did not seem to have taken much time. Chu Zhixing suppressed the surging emotions in his heart and thought of Bei Yunj's foreign language marks. With such a level of translation, how could it only be 87 marks, instantly? Chu Zhixing felt that he seemed to have unknowingly found out something incredible again. They were still in math class. The teacher slammed the podium and woke up the students who were sleeping. "Why aren't you listening to the test paper this time? You're at the bottom again. Your class is at the bottom again. It's 10 marks lower than the average score of class 6. The math teacher was furious and pointed at the fill-in-the-blank question on the paper. The marking teacher said that only one person in the entire grade got the third question of the fill-in-the-blank question right. Don't you know the difference? Suddenly, Lu Yuanxi said faintly, "It's luck." "Luck? Then why didn't such a good thing happen to you?" The math teacher hated the students in this class the most. They thought that they had a good family background and did not need to study seriously. Each one was more useless than the other. "It didn't happen to me, but it didn't happen to my deskmate." Lu Yuanxi glanced at Bei Yunj, who only got the 3 fill-in-the-blank questions right, and his gaze became even more distant. He scored 28 marks in math, and Bei Yunj scored 30 marks. This fill-in-the-blank question was worth 2 marks each. The math teacher was speechless. The other students could not hold back their laughter. No way, right? No one in class 1 and class 2 got it right, but someone in our class got it right." The boy's tone was exaggerated. Sometimes, luck can really cause a gap." This chorus almost made the math teacher's face turn green. In the back row, Lu Yuanxi whispered, "This might not be luck. If one were to take a closer look at Bei Yunj's test papers, one would realize that Bei Yunj's test papers only had 8 correct answers and 2 correct fill-in-the-blank questions. The scribbles at the back were all wrong. Only the chemistry teacher was soft-hearted and gave Bei Yunj 2 points for her hard work. "So what if you got this question right? Can someone from your class get full marks for the college entrance examination?" The math teacher slammed the table. Subsequently, amidst the silence, Chu Zhixing muttered again for some reason, "It's not impossible." Everyone, ever since Chu Zhixing started hanging out with Bei Yunj, not only did he dare to scold his classmates, he even dared to scold his teachers now. Bei Yunj was really something. However, everyone thought about it and realized that Chu Zhixing wasn't wrong. Chu Zhixing only lost 2 marks on his math paper. Bei Yunj was the only one who scored on the third question. Thinking about it, this was the only question Chu Zhixing didn't answer correctly. The math teacher's face darkened. "Chu Zhixing, don't." Suddenly, Bei Yunj suddenly curled her lips and clapped. Her voice was lazy. Well said. After that, Lu Yuanxi also clapped very respectfully. Even the classroom was filled with applause. Those who didn't know better would think that they were carrying out some mysterious and grand ceremony. Chapter 227. Seeing this situation, the mathematics teacher swallowed the words that he was about to say to Chu Zhixing. Immediately, he looked at Bei Yunj with an ashen face and said in a cold voice, Bei Yunj, don't think that. Thank you for teaching me well. Otherwise, how could little Chu be so courageous? This applause is for you. Please keep up the good work. Bei Yunj's appearance was languid, but her clear eyes only made people feel that she was sincere. The mathematics teacher was about to scold her when he forcefully swallowed back his words. His face turned green and red. In the end, he could only take a deep breath and say, continue the lesson. Seeing this scene, many students looked at Bei Yunj with admiration. A refined person was really different. However, Lu Yuanxi glanced at Bei Yunj. How could he not know that she was trying to protect Chu Zhixing? The mathematics teacher had a bad temper and liked to taunt his students. It was said that the last batch of students he taught almost committed suicide because of this. After school, Bei Yunj received a phone call. Unexpectedly, the person who called her was the director of Yunqing Hospital. Miss Pei, there's something I have to tell you. Your family has invited Dr. Fang Gusheng to come over for treatment. Do you know about this? The director asked carefully. He did not forget that Zhong Lin had said that his security system, which had been modified by Bei Yunj, was worth more than 10 million yuan. He should indeed tell Bei Yunj about this. What? The light in Bei Yunj's eyes suddenly turned cold. Didn't they say that that person did not leave the city at will? That was why Mother Qin had persuaded old Master Qin to go to the neighboring city for the surgery. It seems that your mother gave him an expensive consultation fee, so Dr. Fang made an exception and came here. The director paused and said, however, you don't have to worry too much. Dr. Fang is indeed an expert in this field. When did he go over? The director said, yesterday. The surgery was scheduled for tomorrow. Bei Yunj's eyes flashed coldly, and his indolent tone also turned cold. Dean, can I trouble you with something? Miss Pei, please speak your mind. Naturally, the hospital director did not want to offend someone like Bei Yunj. To have such achievements at such a young age. If he were to grow up in the future, he would definitely amaze everyone. Don't let Dr. Fang perform the surgery. Bei Yunj's tone was neither fast nor slow. However, when the director heard this, he almost couldn't react. Miss Pei, he is one of the top experts in the country. The hospital director could not figure out what Bei Yunj was thinking. Since Bei Yunj had dealt with the anti-fan personally for old Master Qin's sake, she was definitely not someone who did not care about old Master Qin's life. I know, but my father's life is too precious. I can't accept any accidents. Bei Yunj smiled, but there was no warmth in her eyes. Tomorrow, the doctor I arranged will contact you and prepare for the old man's operation. It took a while for the president to react. I will listen to Miss Pei. After hanging up the phone, the hospital director was in a daze for a long time. He could not understand why everyone in the Qin family thought that Bei Yunj was ignorant and incompetent. However, what made him even more emotional was that old Master Qin, who had dominated the business world for so many years, was actually willing to put his life in the hands of a young girl. Chapter 228. After that, Bei Yunj called old Master Qin again and told him not to accept other surgeries. Old Master Qin, who loved his grandson as much as his life, naturally agreed without hesitation. In the evening, after Stephen saw Bei Yunj's message, he called. Yunj? What happened? Someone found a doctor for my grandfather. The moment Bei Yunj said this, Stephen's temper rose uncontrollably. He chuckled in disbelief. In this day and age, there's actually someone who dares to snatch patients from me. I might need you to talk to the director of the hospital tomorrow so that they'll be more assured. Stephen replied, no problem. I'll get my assistant to contact that hospital then. Alright, don't worry, Yunj. I'll be able to go to Yunqing this Saturday. So soon? Bei Yunj was a little surprised. There happens to be an academic lecture. The higher-ups want me to come into contact with the new talents in your country. Stephen was smug. Wasn't it just a medical dispute with some stinky money? Huh, did he really think he could do anything to him? At the mention of this, Bei Yunj's lips suddenly curled up. Okay, then I'll see you on Saturday. After hanging up the call, Stephen was elated and was already typing a message, planning to provoke Marcus. He asked him to sign Bei Yunj and he kept showing off. In the end, he was still the first to see Bei Yunj. At this moment, Marcus, who was sleeping in, had no idea that he had already fallen into a situation where there was a wolf in front and a tiger behind him. In the hospital, early in the morning, Mrs. Qin stood at the door of the ward with a livid expression. Beside her, Qin Yojiao was holding her arm. Mum, don't be angry. The director didn't want to arrange it this way. Qin Yojiao's words seemed to be smoothing things over for the director, but in fact, she was directing the anger at Bei Yunj. Even the director could not help but glance at Qin Yojiao meaningfully. Mrs. Qin, don't be agitated. Miss Pei has her reasons for making such an arrangement, the director said. Mrs. Qin laughed coldly. What reason can she have? She wants the Qin family to be in chaos so that she can be happy. Mrs. Qin, even if you don't like your daughter, you shouldn't say that. The school head disagreed. Mother Qin knew that the director of Yun City Hospital was highly respected. Then, she said to him, back then my father-in-law made a will. If he passed away, most of the benefits in the family would be given to her. Director, how could a naive girl have so many ideas to go against her parents? These words were very obscure. However, the dean could also tell that Bei Yunj wanted to kill old Master Qin for the inheritance. Mrs. Qin, although you're Miss Pei's biological mother, she still has the right to sue you for slander. The head of the hospital's expression turned cold, and this tough attitude stunned Mrs. Qin and Qin Yojiao. Bei Yunj had only met the director a few times. Why was even the director blindly helping her? Director, that's not what my mother meant. I hope you can understand that my mother is concerned about my grandfather's feelings. Qin Yojiao's eyes were helpless. After all, Yunj's actions are indeed very unacceptable. Dr. Fong is already one of the top experts in the country. I don't know why she insisted on finding a doctor herself. The director was also an understanding person. After hearing this, he could not help sneering in his heart. They were both daughters, but one was doted on, while the other was a true genius that no one had discovered. You're tuning in to the Wang Lin's Journey YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.